Welcome to another episode of Distorted Opinions, where we talk about all things music. I'm once again joined by Matt and Ted. And guys, I know we've touched on some stories about some of our favorite music teachers in previous shows, but we've left out a few people, and we could certainly talk a lot more about those teachers. So today, we thought it would be a good time to do a music teacher appreciation episode, and I know this is going to carry over into future episodes because we have combined a number of different teachers that we could talk about, but today we thought we would focus on one teacher in particular, and we've chosen to go with our high school music teacher, Mrs. Cordio. We have so many great memories of marching band and concert band with Mrs. Cordio, and I know I have good memories of honors band, which I did my junior year of high school.
Which all three of us did honors band.
Oh, we were all in honors band. All right, awesome. So I know we're gonna.
Smart.
That's right. We're smart at music. So, Matt, why don't we start with you, and then I'm sure we're gonna kind of end up jumping in on some of the different things that you're gonna talk about, and hopefully we'll be able to fit this all into one show.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah,
sure. So, all right, going down memory lane. Well, the first thing, as you could see, just I can't help but smile. It's just fond memories. She is a phenomenal, music teacher, and more importantly, a phenomenal person just in general. I mean, there's just so much to say about her. And like I said, I can't help but smile when thinking about all the memories, that we shared with her. But, she came in, Ted, our freshman year, high school, as she always liked to refer to, from day one till we graduated, we were her babies. Okay. A little side note, the music in the choir before we even entered high school was very, very low to minimum. So the music teacher left. We were out of, now the area of our previous music teacher. And now we have Mrs. Cordio came in. There was 7 of us. Yeah, I want to say about 7 of us. And we took this little group, and at the end throughout the time that we were there till the end when we graduated, pretty much, grew 5 times fold. But some of the notes I just want to point in here, again, she is just a phenomenal person. Came in freshman year. I don't know about you guys. She was definitely like a mother to me. Okay. Like we have, our parents at home, and then we have our mom at school. Okay. No matter where we were, she was right there, always had an eye on us. Even if we went to go down the hall, we would see her. If we were in distress of some sort, she always had an open door policy and an open door, welcoming, warming feeling that, we could talk to her at any point in time, whether it was school related to personal related. She kept everything very confidential, and I know the first year of seeing that firsthand was, just so respectable. I mean, it was, I know for me, when I graduated, it was hard to leave high school because I spent my time a lot after school, just staying there. She, the music room, the performing arts area of our school was my comfort zone. Okay. There was just something about, going to school, and then at the end of the school time frame, which was like mid-afternoon, just hanging out in the performance arts areas. She would be there, and, we would have one-on-one conversations. We would talk about, we would talk about, the musics that we're performing. We would talk about shows that are coming up, to even grabbing advice. Now, the one thing about Mrs. Cordio is that she was very real. Okay. So, if she, told you what her opinion was, okay, 9 times out of 10, it was highly advised to go with what her opinion was. Okay. And, if we didn't, we learned the hard way. I know there was a time where, there was the breakdancing area, and I remember.
Anyone remember breakdancing?
Oh, breakdance, yeah. What started in the '80s? Yeah, '80s came back in the 2000s and whatnot.
Breakdancing and hacky sack.
Breakdance and hacky sack. That might be a different show, but hashtag break windows. So I remember one time, she came out, and I was practicing, breakdancing and whatnot. And she was like, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that." And I didn't really understand why. I was like, "Well, how come? Why not?" And she was talking about, well, because, safety, and, what if you hurt yourself, and, who's going to be here? So needless to say, I ignored it once, and then she caught me again, and it was like the evil eye from a mom, and I was like, okay, I'll stop. But it's, again, being very real, very, very, very transparent, and that's just it's I can't even explain it. She's just incredibly amazing. And I'm not going to take too much time, because I'm sure that, Kayla and Ted, you have awesome memories of her too. And one of the things that I'll bring up is, in high school, we had 2 concerts a year. We had one in the winter, and we had one in the springtime. The winter ones I always personally felt were fun, just because that we did not only in the bands, but also the choir too, that we did, holiday favorites, playing those in front of, our parents and even faculty, really made, a lot of joy come out, getting ready to end the year and going into the new year. The other thing too is, kind of jumping back into the choir. This was my first ever time going into the choir. So again, growing up thinking, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and be this music person. I want to have a music major. And I ended up doing choir. And she said, hey, you're going to be a tenor. And I went, what the hell is a tenor? So, of course, I'm thinking, well, tenor, okay, well, tenor sax, okay, all the blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. Didn't know that there were variations in choir. So, of course, you have, your bass, you have your baritones, you have your tenors, you have your altos, and you have your sopranos. So she's like, you're going to be a tenor. And again, Ted, you were a part of the choir too. And we were this little small group, but we impacted a big, big punch when it came down to her music style, her teaching styles. And to this day, I can't go into our hometown without having someone reference, the bands, the marching band, the choir of some sort, because of the impact that she had on us as a group. There's some great memories, like in a former episode that we talked about a VA trip, Virginia Beach trip. And we had, competitions there. We went to Six Flags to do competitions there.
Busch Gardens.
And
Six Flags.
In Busch Gardens.
Yeah, that's true.
But before handing it off, the one fond memory that I really have, 2 quick fond memories of her that I really have is one from a personal note. We both lived, at one point I moved to, her hometown, and, again, my time there. Now there really wasn't Uber. Okay. Yeah. There's taxis and whatnot. Okay. I didn't really have my license at that time. And some days I would have to go ahead and wait for my parents to come pick up. Well, she would go ahead and out of the blue just honestly offer, hey, do you need a ride home? Or sometimes she would just be like, when's your parents coming? And I'm like, I don't know. And she'd be like, all right, just come on in. I'll drop you off. And, it's, I can't even explain that much care. Like now she could have easily just said, okay, see you later. I'm going home. Not my problem. But she wasn't like that. She was and is the type of person, okay, that will think about her students, care about her students. She wasn't just a teacher, okay? She was a parent to us students. And to this day, there would not even be a slight doubt, okay, that if I saw her, in the area, that just a big hug and consistently say, just thank you. Because again, I know she's impacted my life. I'm sure she's impacted, our lives and our former musicians and our classmates. And, it's just great. And the other thing too is, so that's one quick thing. And the other quick thing is, we did Godspell. Okay. And Godspell again is, I don't know, Ted, I don't know about you. Kayla, were you part of the Godspell?
I wasn't. No, actually, I had completely forgotten when we were pre-planning this show about all the musicals that she was involved
I made a
with.
note for some musicals to point out, but I mean, we might as well just chat about it. But yeah.
Sure. So, so I'll this will be my last ending segment, but Godspell, it was again, great director. We would go ahead and practice after hours, after school. So usually it was about 6 to 8, sometimes even 6 to 10, depending on, the upcoming performance weeks that were coming up. And those were just special in general too. Again, it was kind of a little bit new because when you're thinking back then that you're in this mindset of early morning into mid-afternoon of school site, then you have a little break, and then you're coming back and you're pretty much doing night school, but it's not really night school. It's getting ready for the show. And, we would have, pizza parties and, really dive in. And again, she was the type of person that hey, I need to have it this way. We're going to work on it. And whether it was lines or whether it was movement on the stage to even music, okay, she was a stickler for making sure that it was sharp and it was accurate and it looked good. And to this day, all 3 shows, there was a Friday show, there was a Saturday show, and there was a matinee on Sunday, was packed. And
for the record, you were Jesus.
Well, yeah. No, but even before that, not even having to do with anything with Jesus, but the whole crew was just, it was phenomenal. I mean, even the musicians, okay, that played. I mean, we had. I
mean, I played bass guitar. Yeah. And my dad played guitar for the pit. So we learned all those songs, and obviously we had our own rehearsals outside of the Godspell rehearsals you were doing. Yep. For the actual performance piece. We were learning the music on the side, also staying after dinners. Mr. Tree was coordinating that aspect of it, which will be another episode because Mr. Tree deserves another episode for teacher appreciation. But that whole piece was happening on the side, and then once we started blending our the overall run throughs together, where you actually get to hear the music as opposed to just the recording what we were doing, get to see what you guys are working on. It was really fun. It came out really good. Indeed.
And that whole show was just, again, like I said, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was either sold out or close to sold out. One very specific instance that was brought to me, even after the show and even, throughout the year later on was, she directed that show so good that people were still talking about it even after the show ended. One specific memory was in the show, and for those that weren't familiar with Godspell, there was a moment in the show where Jesus was executed on a like a chain, and then what I had to do is I had to fall with trust and confidence to a group of our actors and actresses, and they carried me from the stage down off the stage and through the audience up and down. And when we want to talk about the impact of that moment in that show, it was so silent you could hear a pin drop. You heard sniffles in the background. So obviously, this moment was very impactful, but I don't think it would have not been that impactful if it weren't for the fact that we had a director that meant and wanted to have that type of impact. So with that being said, I know that, again, that was a very fond memory of what I remember from that show. And even to this day, still being, I'll see some people here and there in the hometown and be like, hey, do you remember? And I was like, yes, I remember Godspell. A great show. And
you were Jesus.
And I was Jesus.
Of course I remember.
It's nothing to do with me being Jesus.
You were the star.
I could have been stage crew, which was stage crew for free time.
That's true.
But but on that note, I rambled enough. Why not?
I was gonna say, let me jump in here.
Yeah. Hey, jump in. We'll have.
So my list of a few things to mention here. So I was already learning how to play guitar with Matt and our garage bands that we had put together. And as mentioned in prior podcasts, we've been doing, marching band from middle school into high school. And as mentioned, our high school band was very small, didn't have a bass section. And because I was already dabbling on guitar, and Mrs. Cordio asked if I would be interested in playing bass guitar in the marching band, which bass guitar in a marching band seems outlandish, but super cool. So having the ability or, the recommendation to play bass guitar and actually learn to play bass really, thanks to that opportunity, really opened the doors for bass for me. And wound up playing bass guitar through high school bass, once we, to give the marching band a bass section. So that was really cool. You mentioned that we were in chorus together. I didn't join chorus until sophomore year. That was because A, you were in chorus at that point, and B, she approached me and said, you should join chorus. And then our friends were mentioning the same thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't sing. Like, I'll play music, but I don't want to sing. Talked me into it because after freshman year going so well and really loving, Mrs. Cordio to, the way she taught, our interactions were always so positive. I was like, oh, another class with her? That'd be pretty cool. And it's with my friends, even better. So wound up joining the chorus. And when I was in middle school, I did audition for clarinet for Central Districts. And in high school, in chorus, decided to audition for Central Districts for singing and try that. And so I auditioned my junior year and senior year and got into Central Districts. But, I wouldn't have even attempted or even thought of that possibility if it wasn't for Mrs. Cordio's recommendation to join chorus. One fun story, I recall being driven. Mrs. Cordio drove me and maybe one or two other students or classmates of ours to the audition. And we were running a little late. She was driving a little fast, drove by a police car.
Uh-oh.
The police car flashed the blues. She slowed way down and then was like, I'm in a hurry. I'm sorry. Like, but the cop didn't pull out to pull us over. He just flashed the blues just to be like, hey, take it easy. And so we just laughed about it all the way over to the audition for Central Districts. But I just remember every time I drive by that spot, because it's I know exactly where that particular spot was where that cop was sitting. I think about that memory just because it was so funny at the moment. So there's that piece. We did a lot, we mentioned Virginia Beach a number of times, and the ability for us, the opportunities we had to go to the different competitions locally. And then obviously the one in Virginia Beach was obviously pretty huge. And so we had a program called Music Boosters, which was basically the fundraising that we had to do to help finance all these trips that we were doing. And some of the things we used to do, like an annual gift basket, purchases and things. So we would get together on a Saturday with our parents and Mrs. Cordio and, order lunch or whatever. And we just put together these gift baskets that people had purchased as fundraisers. Another fun memory of that, we did a cosmic bowling
I remember that
event.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
So, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
And basically people, we would bowl, and then whatever our score was, people would donate per pin that we had, gotten down. And so that was a fun fundraiser. Some outlandish memories of our friend Jimmy and others that were there that particular evening. But, stuff like that, again, all those things that I'm mentioning outside of the marching band piece, actually marching band, I mean, we've talked about that being an after school activity. All of those things were done after school hours.
Right.
A lot of things that you mentioned, Matt, were done after school hours.
Yep.
So we're not even talking about the experience we had during the day, which we had her every day, 5 days a week. Yep. We are talking about all the time we had after school and, different other events and activities that we got to spend time with her and, interact and really, have a deep appreciation for, being the school mom, if you will, that we had. And obviously my experiences are a little bit different than yours, Matt. So, and I'm sure Kayla too, but, it definitely made quite the impact on us, clearly, and definitely left a strong mark on the school for the music program, and definitely, obviously, for the better, because obviously we've talked a number of times, the music program seemed to shift into higher gear, towards the end of our senior year and then beyond. I believe that band kept on growing, but I think it was kind of cultivated from the start, thanks to Mrs. Cordio being there. So, no, I don't know. I think I've kind of summed up what I needed to say, but I mean, I'm sure I could ramble forever. But Kayla, what do you have on your list?
Well, so I have also a lot of really fond memories of Mrs. Cordio, and to your point about her having a bass in the marching band, so I can tell you that that's not as outlandish as it may have seemed at the time, because after high school, I went on to participate in the marching band at UMass, where Mrs. Cordio was also a member of the marching band in the pit. And so that was actually, they had a massive pit section in the college marching band, which included bass, guitar, Sometimes they would have keyboard. They had a number of people playing xylophone and different types of percussion. So the bass thing for us, I think, was a little bit weird, especially given how small of a band we were. But I can tell you that that's probably where that idea came from, because it isn't unheard of in bigger marching bands to have a bass. But yeah, I know our marching band was lacking certain types of instrumentation, and so I remember, a few different things that stand out to me about Mrs. Cordio. First of all, I had mentioned at the beginning of the show the honors band, which we were all a part of, and I seem to have some recollection of wanting to do the honors band my sophomore year, or maybe it was a different class, but I don't know if they offered honors band more than 1 year. But my project that I chose to work on for that was a music composition project, which never in a million years would I ever have imagined taking on writing a piece for the band to perform, but Mrs. Cordio encouraged me to do it. And at the time, the Metallica S&M album had just come out, which was Metallica with the San Francisco Symphony. And so I thought that was a really cool thing, and I was like, well, what could I do that could be similar? And the band didn't have the same kind of instrumentation, obviously, because as we mentioned in some previous episodes, we didn't have a string orchestra in our school. It was only brass and woodwinds. So, Mrs. Cordio really encouraged me to run with this idea, and she was instrumental in making it a reality. And I wouldn't call myself an expert in music composition by any means, but for me at the time, it was a huge deal. I ended up deciding to do Man in the Box by Alice in Chains, which I composed for the instrumentation that we had in the band. And then I believe it was the spring concert, because I'm trying to remember if that was a year long. Yeah.
Because I played drums for your composition.
That's right. And I forget who else played with me now. And I apologize if you're listening or watching this and I don't remember who you were, but I'd have to try and find the tape and go. That's right. Matt played trombone. I played guitar on it. Ted played drums. Somebody had to have been playing bass, but I don't know who. There were no vocals because I had arranged different instruments to be the vocals for the piece. So that was...
Did Harris play bass?
Maybe? I'm like digging deep into the vault for this one right now, and I'm not remembering... Maybe we didn't have a bass player,
but honestly remember.
I don't remember.
I remember, Ted, I remember you on drums. Yeah. Kayla, definitely remember you on the guitar.
Right.
Because I remember I was also part of that class, and I also wrote and conducted a score for that particular day, because we had a number. It was basically our normal concert or in the spring, but the honors band people were able to present their scores for that particular day. But yeah, I don't remember.
Honestly, I can't recall.
And if Chris played bass, we would remember it.
Right. Maybe there wasn't a bass.
Maybe there wasn't a bass.
Maybe there wasn't. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to try and find the tape now and see if I can figure that out.
I'm not surprised you haven't recorded too.
Yeah, as I've mentioned,
or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned in previous shows, if there's one thing I'm good for, it's providing pictures of just about everything. If there's one thing my parents were good for growing up, it was videotaping just about everything, which kind of carried over to me considering what I do for a living. But also, in high school, we used to all hang out on the weekends and whatnot, and I have videos of all kinds of ridiculousness that happened during those days as well. Everything was well documented. Let's just put it that way. So there is video somewhere of that performance, but Mrs. Cordio was, no pun intended, instrumental in making that.
Or pun intended.
Maybe, maybe. But that project would not have ever happened had it not been for her encouragement and her assistance throughout the process, and helping me. Like I said, I didn't know the first thing about music composition, and I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert, but, you know, I learned a lot through that process, which was really eye-opening, and it's something that I've really held on to going forward. So for me, that was a moment that really stood out. Unfortunately, I didn't get to have Mrs. Cordio for all 4 years because she had to leave shortly, like maybe a month or two into my senior year on maternity leave. So we had another teacher that filled in after her. And I'm still bummed that I didn't get to have her for all 4 years. But I'm very fortunate that I got to have her for the 3 years and a couple of months that I did have her as a teacher. And, you know, she and I have kept in touch throughout the years. And, you know, like I said, when I went on to college marching band at UMass, I actually remember reaching out to her and telling her that I was joining the marching band. And I remember her being very excited and supportive of the fact that I was going to be joining the same marching band that she had been a part of at one point. And so one of the things that I remember us doing, I want to say it was either my freshman or sophomore year in high school, we went to band day at UMass. And that was, again, I think largely Mrs. Cordio's doing, because I'm not sure, had it not been for her, I'm not sure that we would have gone. So, you know, it kind of came full circle for me, because we went, and for me, that was my first time experiencing a large marching band. You guys have mentioned we were a small school. We were a small band. I think we had maybe 25, 30 kids in the marching band tops when I was in the high school marching band. Yep. And going to band day for me was eye-opening, because that was my first time seeing a band. The UMass band has always, as long as I've known it, been 300 plus people. And it was really a great experience, because the way it worked was you showed up as a high school student, they put you in with all the other instruments that you played, and they kind of put a few high school students in between members of the UMass band, and everybody learned 2 or 3 songs that were played during the halftime show at a UMass football game. And that is something that always stuck with me as like a really amazing experience. And so when I went on to college and I joined the UMass band and we had band day coming up, I reached out to Mrs. Cordio and I said, you know, is there any chance that you might be able to bring the band to band day? Because I know for me, this was a great experience. This is a large part of what made me decide to continue doing marching band through college. And she managed to work it out that she was able to bring the kids that were in the high school band at that time. And I managed to work it out that I got to be the person who ran onto their bus, because I don't know if you guys recall, but part of what made me think like, oh, wow, because there's a connotation with marching band that it's kind of nerdy. And
I mean, look at us.
I mean, listen. Yeah,
there's
people think that.
They think that there's a connotation that it's not the cool kids in the marching band.
Yeah, it's a whole. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not like American Pie where no, God. Instruments are used for other things.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard the freaking one time at band camp joke, every time I said that I was heading off to band camp for the beginning of the school year in college, that got old real quick. Let's just.
I usually respond with, "What's your hobby?" It's just kind of like, yeah. This one time in band camp, yes, we friggin' heard it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Heard it. Let's move on.
Listen, right. Not all band geeks are geeks.
That's right. That's right. And I can tell you right now, having known nearly 400 people plus over the 4 years that I was in college that were in the marching band, there's a wide variety of personalities and backgrounds in that size of a marching band. So one of the things that I remember, and having, like I said, been in a small high school marching band where we were kind of viewed as maybe the nerdy kids for being in the marching band. And let's be serious for a second. Those marching band uniforms we had in high school, really, like, Matt, can you pull out your Starship Enterprise again? Because I think it was fitting of our uniforms in high
I mean, to
school.
be fair, when we started, like, in 8th grade, the old ones.
I got hold on, correction. Star Trek? You said Star Trek Enterprise? This is not Star Trek.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, that's Star Wars. My bad.
Yep. No, okay. The uniforms were terrible in middle school, but then we bought brand new ones, I think, sophomore year of our high school. And then that's where we got the newer ones. But yeah, we might as well have been commanding the Enterprise.
They were.
I think I may have a picture of me in the uniform, which we'll attach to.
I know we should probably have a band picture of all of us.
I have many a picture. I have many a picture of all of us in the marching band. I was actually
and those pants were basically fish waders. Like those things, like they came up like.
Well, I got news for you. Those don't change outside of high school. That's what our pants were in the college marching band as well. They came up to your chest. In fact, we had shirts in college that were designed to be worn underneath them, and I was gonna wear mine, and then I realized, boy, I was in a lot better shape when I was in marching band, because that shirt's probably a few sizes too small for me to wear anymore. But I have pictures of it. But we had shirts that were designed that had the marching band logo and our slogan on it, so that if we took our jackets off and we were just wearing the pants, we were still technically in uniform, because the shirts underneath, we all had the same shirt. But yeah, that is very much a marching band style pant. They go all the way up, because the jackets, depending on where the jackets come on you, like on your body, if you're playing a horn and you lift your arms up, the jackets would lift, so you'd have to have enough pants there to really cover that. So that's why they're designed like that. I know. Again, I'm not really doing us any favors with the whole nerdiness of marching band by going into that explanation, but I digress a bit.
So let me say this though, right? Kind of going back to the very beginning of this segment, that the impact of what Mrs. Cordio has done for the performance arts area. I mean, we had a variety of not only personalities, but also, I want to say, like, kind of a versatile of if that's even the word. Again, I'm a musician, non-English guy. That we had cheerleaders, in the marching band. Mm-hmm. We had football players in the marching band. We've had, heavy metal, like death metal, satanic people in the band.
It wasn't me at that time.
We had the most, in quotes, nerdy person, join the band. We had a huge variety of all different types of personalities, and I think that's what really made the band grow and accelerate, pretty much double, triple, quadruple.
Basically every circle had somebody basically in that
every circle,
so it was easy to want to be in the same room or same class, and obviously Mr. Cordio helped facilitate that.
Again, the impact of what Mrs. Cordio has done has not only impacted us as a music department, but just as a school in general and whatnot. Attracted everything.
Right. And
I was going to say, go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just going to say, she was so instrumental, in case you haven't picked it up based off of, what I've said during the show. She was so instrumental in me continuing to play music through college, both in marching band, and eventually I was a little late to the party on joining the concert band, but I eventually joined the concert band. And just real quick, the instrument that I chose for, college marching band and concert band had a lot to do with her, because she encouraged me. I think she was looking for some more mid-range in the marching band. She encouraged me to pick up the mellophone, which I had never heard of. I had no idea what it was. It was me, and there was one other person who ended up leaving a few weeks into the school year, my senior year of high school. So it was basically just me playing that instrument. And when I chose to continue doing band through college, I chose to stick with mellophone because it was an instrument that I enjoyed. As I mentioned, having gone to band day, it was the first experience seeing a band of that size and that caliber, and showing up to insert annoying band camp joke here, but showing up to the first day of band camp, all of the upperclassmen who were in the band were there to greet all of the incoming freshmen into the band, and they were so enthusiastic, and it was just eye-opening because it was a very different experience. And the size of my section in the college marching band was as big as our high school marching band. So to not be the only person playing that instrument anymore was an insane change. And I realized very quickly into the band camp experience freshman year of college that a lot of the things we had learned in band camp and high school were things that Mrs. Cordio had brought from her time at UMass. All of the, I guess, training, so to speak, learning how to march, learning how to march while reading music, which is a skill in itself, knowing where you're supposed to be on the field. All of that stuff is stuff that I initially learned with Mrs. Cordio, brought those skills with me to college, and then continued to develop as, throughout my 4 years at UMass. And so, I have her to thank for that, because I'm not sure, if it hadn't been for her, I'm not sure that I would have said, yeah, you know what, I'm going to join the marching band. That sounds like fun. I don't know what I would have been doing, to be honest, if I hadn't been in the marching band. So for that, I owe Mrs. Cordio a lot of thanks for, getting me to the point of being able to do that, and having a fun time, and having a lot of good experiences and good memories, and making a lot of friends that I wouldn't have otherwise met. So, I think, she's impacted us all in a way that, we still continue to carry on to this day. For me, that she impacted me in a huge way, continuing to do music beyond high school. So, I'm fortunate that I got to have her for the 3 years that I did. Like I said, I wish I'd had a chance to have her through senior year of high school as well, but I've kept in touch with her over the years, and I kept in touch with her throughout college. And I was really thrilled when she brought the high school band to band day my freshman year at UMass, and I got to run on the bus and be one of those crazy enthusiastic people that yelled, "Welcome to band day!" and people thought I was nuts. And then, hopefully that experience stuck with those students who had come. And, I don't know, because they were quite a bit behind me, most of them, but maybe some of them ended up going on to be in marching bands at their colleges. I'm not really sure, but yeah, so I think we could talk all day long about, I'm sure we have more stories we could share about Mrs. Cordio.
Always more.
We were talking before we started recording the show, and I know there were a lot of really fun and hilarious memories that we were reminiscing about.
Welcome to band day with fisherman pants. But yeah, it's
and just point out, if Mrs. Cordio happens to listen to this, I'll get your next Mountain Dew for you.
She loved her Mountain Dew. Probably still does love her Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I know.
It's like coffee for her. So yes, we owe her a Mountain Dew, I think, for everything she's done.
Incoming.
a infinity amount of Mountain Dews for her. But if Mrs. Cordio, if you are listening to this and whatnot, on behalf of all three of us and behalf of our former classmates, we just want to say thank you. You have made an incredible, loving, warming, and compassionate impact to all of us. And, just like what Kayla said, we could go on and on and on about, the fond memories that we have shared with you. So, we all love you. And again, thank you for just being an inspiration to all of us.
Yes, thank you. And so I think maybe now we should move into our Song of the Week picks.
Song of the Week.
Do you guys want me to go ahead and just continue the trend and go first?
Sure.
Take it away.
Okay, so I already talked a little bit about, you can probably guess what my pick of the week is going to be. I talked about my honors band music composition of Alice in Chains' Man in the Box.
Is it the American Pie theme?
No. I'm pretty sure it's not. I don't. So for a second here, I've never actually seen the movie, so I'm not sure.
Oh.
So I've only ever heard the terrible Bandcamp jokes.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's one thing. I'm gonna just let the cat out of the bag now.
No.
So as most people who know me really well, including my coworkers, know, I don't know a lot of, I haven't seen a lot of movies.
There. He's got
Look at that. Jesus, what did you have that in your back pocket ready to go?
He just pulled it out of his case.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh no.
What else has he got here? Uh-oh.
In case you like it, I also have two.
Oh boy.
In case you like that too, I have the third one.
They had 3?
Hell, why not? Let's have a reunion. And needless to say,
Oh, God.
and guess what? We can keep going on and on.
How many were there?
And on. Okay. On the contrary, real quick, 30 seconds. There's 4 official American Pie movies, and right now there are 4. I think they're working on their 5th one, kind of direct to DVD, kind of like side stories of American Pie. So pretty much American Pie than The Next Generation. But Kayla, if you ever want to watch American Pie,
good to know. I'll keep that in mind. So you guys may not know this about me, but most of the people who've known me for a long time and my coworkers know that despite my profession, I do not see a lot of movies. I watch a lot more TV than I do movies. So, and I'm probably going to sound terrible saying this. It wasn't until a few years ago that I actually saw the Blues Brothers movie, and the only reason I watched it was because I saw the end scene where they're driving through downtown Chicago and all the cop cars are like flying off the bridges and crashing into each other, and I was like, what is this? And I found out it was Blues Brothers, and then I had to see it, and it was hilarious, and I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it sooner. But let's just say that you probably have to put a spoiler alert on anything that was filmed in the last 40 years for movies if you don't want to spoil it for me. So I just don't even bother. Like, if people start talking about a movie, most times I'm just like, oh, yeah. And
there's a
eventually,
sequel too, right?
There's a what?
There's a sequel.
To Blues Brothers? Yes, I do know that. I haven't seen it, but I do know there is a sequel. I think John Goodman was in that one.
Yeah, John Goodman's in it.
And Jim Belushi?
Well, John, rest in peace.
Jim is his brother.
Jim is his brother.
I think it was after John passed away.
I think so. Oh, now my wheel's spinning.
I think we might have just digressed into another show.
Oh, yeah,
to be totally honest. Music movies. So let's steer it back on track here.
Man in the Box.
That's right. So my pick of the week, Man in the Box, off of the 1990 Alice in Chains album Facelift. It's a song that I've always loved, and I think that might have been my first introduction to the talk box, because Jerry Cantrell uses the talk box in that piece. I know there are other musicians that are famous for it, but that I think was my first experience with it, and so I'd been listening to it a lot at the time. I've always been a big Alice in Chains fan, and I just kind of picked that as being my piece for my music composition project, and it's a great tune. I'm sure most people have heard it, but if you haven't, go check it out. You won't be disappointed. With that, why don't we continue in the order that we went in during the show? Matt, do you want to go next with your pick of the week?
Sure. So, and it's not funny because like other episodes, I sometimes start off my sentences with, no. For this, I'm going to go a little off track. So typically with our episodes, with what we're talking about, we have some sort of a related concept of what we've been talking about and relate it to the song of the week. For this, I took a little bit of an element because we're talking about, a very influential person. The one word that comes to me is warm. Okay, so there's no other song that I can think of that has a warm essence to it or warm element to it than Butch Walker's song called So At Last off of the Letters album released in 2004. I saw this guy accidentally through a concert that he opened up for at the TD Garden in Boston. And I remember, going, sitting in the seat, and they're playing, their songs throughout the stadium before he opens up. And I'm like, who is this guy? Saw him, and since then saw this guy live 5 times. And the song "So At Last" is a song about him driving into California, Southern California, and just really being at peace with, kind of like a new life, kind of a warm element to being at peace. And it's really like a love letter. Okay, so he's talking to someone or writing to someone that he cares about, and pretty much saying, you should see how the sun rises, while I'm here, and him just reflecting while he's driving through Hollywood. It's just a great song. It kind of has like a little bit of, tropical elements to it. He uses heavily a chorus pedal throughout the song, and it ends with a guitar solo fading out. So again, So At Last by Butch Walker off the 2004 album Letters. Highly recommend it. It's a great album.
Fantastic.
With that being said, Ted, why don't you jump right in?
Well, mine is not so deep of a related item song for this week. This song, for me, I first heard it in Mrs. Cordio's room. It was towards the end of the school year. One of our classmates, Spencer, speaking of one of the more metal-ish friends in the band, or were hanging out in the band room at that point, Mrs. Cordio allowed us to kind of listen to different music, or he'd throw a CD in and listen to a song or two, whatever. And I think it was Spencer wound up, maybe it wasn't even Spencer, it was somebody else, another metalhead in the class, put in Mudvayne's Death Blooms. And it was so heavy, so catchy, that it kind of stuck with me. Mudvayne's been around for a long time, well, no longer, but was around for a long time. This particular album came out in 2000, the LD50 album, but Death Blooms is just kind of, when I was just thinking about, keeping it heavy metal, it's kind of the mantra for all these episodes. But thinking about, Mrs. Cordio, thinking about the band room, and, what kind of jumped to my mind first was actually that song, based on just a random experience. It happened to be there at the right time, and then really kind of sold that song for me. So definitely my pick for this week, to somewhat relate it to Mrs. Cordio, even though I'm sure she's never even heard the song.
Awesome.
I highly doubt that you would be interested in hearing Death Blooms.
No, I don't know. It's the name of the song. It's whatever.
It is a great song, though.
It is. It's a good album. It's a good album for sure. No, those are great picks, guys. Matt, I'll have to check out your pick. I'm not familiar with that one. And since I usually go pull out our little audio clips for all of these shows, it'll give me an opportunity to give that tune a listen.
It'll also be a good opportunity for you to check out this movie, too.
I'll get on it.
That looks like enough.
I'll get on it. I've heard the damn Bandcamp joke so many times, I'm just not even at this point interested in seeing the movie because I'm so sick of hearing that joke. I'll check it out. I will check it out. On that note, that is, I think, beyond all the time we have for this show. But if you've got an idea for a future topic or you want to be considered as a guest, feel free to send us an email at distortedopinionshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and just about any platform that you listen to podcasts on as Distorted Opinions. Be sure to follow us and subscribe. And we've also got a new feature that we're playing around with. We'll see how it goes. You can leave us a voicemail by going to anchor.fm and searching for Distorted Opinions and hitting the little leave voicemail button there. Who knows? Maybe you'll make it onto a future show, depending on what kind of messages we receive. We'll see.
Send us anything.
That's right.
We may even respond.
That's right. Yeah, we may not respond with a phone call back because I don't think that's how it works. Yeah. But, we could potentially email you or respond to you on a show. So check it out. Leave us a message. And with that, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.